Then we looked at, and in your notes you can see, we looked at the provisions that Christ offers us, and sometime just, if you haven't yet, take this little outline and sit down with chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, and match up the verses. And if you didn't write them down last week, Matthew 11, 28 through 30 is our matchless rest. That's sitting at the feet of Jesus. The total security is Psalm 91:1. We abide in the secret place of His shadow, of the Almighty. The overflowing joy is Psalm 16:11. He shows us the path of life as we follow it. When we follow His path, we come into His presence, and there we find fullness of joy. The abundant supply of fruit is John 15:5, and Christ says that my Spirit through you will bear fruit in your life. The individual guidance is Psalm 23:3 and 4, as He leads us in His paths personally. The glorious fellowship is Revelation 3:20. He stands at the door and knocks, and He comes in, and when Christ comes, He brings the banquet with Him. And finally, the consistent victory is 2 Corinthians 2:14. He always, now isn't it interesting? God always leads us into victory. If you're following God, as Jack Wurtson, I remember the last time he was here before he died. Remember, he said, we're on the victory side. You know, that old 85-year-old man. The victory side. I always think about that. If you choose to follow the Lord, you walk in victory. I walk in victory. I mean, our lives, my life, all day long is a collection of whether or not I choose to follow Christ into victory, or if I choose to follow myself and my flesh into defeat. There's only two choices. There's no middle ground. It's a slippery slope. If you stand still, you're sliding down. If you are not pressing forward and denying the flesh, it's just, you can't stop and pinion yourself to the mountain like the climbers on Everest do. You slide back. The second point that we look at is the lover coming, and this is our second section, chapter 2, verse 8 through 3:5. And what happens is, remember, this is the initial, they're falling in love, and that's what the first section's about. And he isn't known, and he's there loving and you know, just sweeping her off her feet. Then he's gone, and she kind of slips away, and that's what the second section is about. There's failure on her part. She was lured back. She found that her beloved couldn't follow her. See, she just goes back into her old life, and particularly as talking about our spiritual lives, it talks about us loving the world and not loving Christ, and that's an experience that all of us go through. But what I like is, if you want to look at chapter 3, verse 4, it says in Song of Solomon 3:4, scarcely had I passed by them when I found the one I love. And all of us know what that's like when we find, or actually we come back, because Christ doesn't go anywhere. It's us that moves around, and we come back to Him that we love. And she says, I found him. I found him whom my soul loves, and I held him, and I wouldn't let him go. You ever had someone give a testimony about that? That was what Bob Nichols was saying 2 weeks ago. He says, I don't want to go back. I just want to consumingly, passionately love Christ. I found him, and I'm not going to let go. She begged Solomon and those around her to not hinder her. As C.F. Weigel puts it, listen to this. I would love to tell you what I think of Jesus. Since I found in him a friend so strong and true, I would tell you how he changed my life completely. He did something that no other friend could do. All my life was full of sin when Jesus found me. All my heart was full of misery and woe. Jesus placed his strong and loving arms around me, and he led me in the way I ought to go. And you know the chorus? Isn't it, no one ever cares for me like Jesus? There's no other friend so kind as he. No one else can take the tears and darkness from me. Oh, how much he cares for me.